Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at a session log today that honestly, it feels less like your standard fantasy quest and, well, more like a survival thriller, a real pressure cooker.
It really does. It's intense. We're
Yep.
tracking this group, these adventurers, trying to tackle Argynvostholt
Yeah, this is
with a ruined manor,
or
right? They were told it might be, shelter.
might be shelter. Yeah, keywords there. Because what they actually found was, well, just pure danger, almost from step one.
Absolutely. And that's why the source log is so valuable, I think. It's a fantastic study in, extremes. You see these characters push right to the edge almost immediately.
Pushed how?
Well, brink of survival stuff.
Yeah.
Literally within minutes of getting inside. They're forced to adapt, change tactics under insane pressure. And yeah, they do get something out of it in the end, some resources.
The cost.
Exactly. The cost is just staggering, almost unacceptable, you could argue, emotionally, physically. So this dive, it's like a shortcut, really, to understanding deep-level strategy, resource management, when everything hits the fan.
Okay, so our mission here is to really unpack what happened in Argynvostholt. We're following 4 adventurers. Urihorn Tenpenny, he's the halfling beastmaster.
Right.
Radley, the human Eldritch Knight. Traxidor, a half-elf cleric of light. And Daermon Cobain, who's an elf arcane trickster.
A pretty diverse group, skill-wise.
Definitely. And this isn't their first rodeo at Argynvostholt, is it? They tried before.
No, they got hammered before.
Wait.
Battered by the manor's main defenders, these revenants.
Wow.
Really nasty undead. They had to pull back.
So they've regrouped, maybe healed up a bit, but they're going back in. That determination, that's kind of the core here, isn't it?
It really is. That's the engine driving this whole session.
Yeah.
They know the risks now. They've seen the outside. They poked around the main hall, the dining room, the chapel on that first disastrous trip.
So they know the front door is bad news.
Exactly. The main entrance is basically a death trap guarded by those revenants.
Yeah.
So this time they're looking for another way in, a flank. Their plan is to re-enter through the south side, through the ruins of this old ballroom, trying to bypass the main threat.
All right, let's start the clock right there. Their second attempt, first floor, ruined ballroom. Because this is where it all goes wrong, like instantly. It shows how even a tiny pause, a moment of hesitation, boom, disaster.
Yeah, the perils of caution, as the section title suggests. It's ironic, isn't it?
Okay, so they breach the ballroom, and it's just chaos, right? Rubble everywhere. The goal is clear, though. 3 sets of double doors on the north wall. That's their way deeper into the manor.
Right. And most of the party, they get the memo. Move fast.
Urihorn, Traxidor, Daermon, Ranger, Cleric, Rogue, they don't hang about.
No, they're quick. Darting through the rubble, heading straight for those doors, the priority is clear. Get out of this big, open, exposed space. Makes sense.
And this is the first big lesson for you listening right now. Radley hesitates.
Radley, the Eldritch Knight, he just pauses. The log suggests he's trying to pick the safest path through the debris, looking for stable footing.
Which sounds sensible. Caution seems smart.
In a normal situation, maybe. But here, it's what we call paralysis by analysis, almost textbook. In a stable place, sure, take your time. But this is Argynvostholt. High alert, hostile territory.
So the pause was bad.
Catastrophic.
Yeah.
Because that ballroom floor is huge and ruined. Any movement, especially lingering movement, shifting debris, it's like ringing a dinner bell for whatever defenses are lurking.
So wait, if he'd just run with the others?
You probably would have been fine. The source log really points to this. The spiders, these 9 enormous spiders.
And we need to stress enormous, like horse size?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Horse-sized spiders. The log suggests they weren't triggered by the party entering, but by the movement of the others passing by. Radley, because he stopped, he's left behind, isolated.
He becomes the target. The danger literally drops down around the one guy who stopped moving.
Yeah, 9 massive spiders descending on these thick, ropey cobwebs, just boo, dropping from the ceiling, converging right on him. It's a perfectly executed ambush, focus fire designed purely to cut the knight off from his friends.
Nightmare fuel, like you said. And their first move isn't just biting.
Not primarily, no. The immediate threat is immobilization. They cut him off. Mandible snapping, yes, but they're also trying to web him up instantly. Gooey silk everywhere. Isolate him, then go for the kill with poison. Standard spider tactics, just scaled up horribly.
So Radley's trapped, cut off, spiders everywhere. What does he do? His knight training, sword and shield.
Actually, no, not initially. He goes for magic, raw power.
Which spell?
He casts Thunderwave. Now, Thunderwave, for anyone not familiar, does okay damage, sure, but its main thing is force. a big sonic boom that pushes things away.
Ah, so he's not trying to kill them all at once.
Nope. He's trying to make space, create an escape route. Tactical Magic 101 right there. He needs out of that kill box.
Does that work?
It does. The force of the spell, it actually knocks stones loose from the walls. It's that powerful. And critically, it blasts several spiders backwards. Just physically shoves them away.
Clearing a path.
Exactly. Just for a moment. A brief corridor opens up towards those double doors where his friends went. He doesn't hesitate now. He bolts forward, running for the doors, knowing full well his back is completely exposed as spiders are leaping at him.
And the others. Urihorn, Traxidor, Daermon. They made it through the doors safely.
Yeah, but then they hear it. That massive boom of the Thunderwave. They instantly know Radley's in deep trouble, so they turn right back around. Gotta help their friend.
And now it's just a messy, close quarters fight in the doorway.
Incredibly chaotic. They see Radley sprinting towards them. He's already hurt, bitten at least once. Urihorn and Daermon start firing arrows, trying to cover him. Traxidor gets Sacred Flame off, summons his spiritual weapon, this floating magic weapon he controls.
Sounds like a solid counterattack.
It should be, but the panic, the stress. You've got 9 giant spiders. Your friend is near death. It leads to a critical mistake. A breakdown.
The friendly fire incident. Yeah, let's focus on this because it really shows how things fall apart under pressure.
Right. Urihorn, the ranger, he decides to go big. He tries to cast Hail of Thorns. It's this spell that makes his arrow explode into, well, a hail of magical thorns. Great for hitting lots of enemies packed together.
Like the spiders around Radley.
Exactly. He's desperate to clear them off his friend. But in the chaos, the spray of thorns, it hits Radley too.
Oh, no. So the rescue attempt actually hurts the person they're trying to save. How do they even process that mid-fight?
It's a shock. For Urihorn, it forces an instant rethink. He realizes, okay, big area attacks are too dangerous right now. Radley's too close. It's a hard lesson learned on the fly. Rescuing someone in melee. Precision beats raw power.
So Urihorn has to hold back his best crowd control.
Yeah, it limits their options for dealing with the remaining spiders quickly. Meanwhile, Radley's still fighting like mad, slashing with his sword, but he gets bitten again and again. The poison is building up.
Even with everyone fighting, the spiders are relentless.
They are. And Radley, he makes it. He actually reaches the doors, the threshold of safety. But just as he gets there, a final stream of spider silk hits him. He's entangled, struggling.
And then
the poison just overwhelms him. Total system shock. He collapses. The log uses this incredibly vivid description. He goes down like an abandoned marionette, just gone. Right there on the webs.
Wow. That image, it's not just unconscious. It's complete collapse. Functionally dead, like you said. The poison won.
For the moment, yes. And the team immediately has to switch gears. Forget the spiders for a second. It's about triage. Desperate, high-speed triage.
So the rescue, Urihorn and Daermon run out, cut him free from the webs, drag him back into the relative safety of the main hall.
While Traxidor, the cleric, gets to work,
Yeah.
he hits him with Spare the Dying first.
What does that do exactly? Is it a heal?
Not quite. Think of it as emergency stabilization.
Yeah.
It stops you from dying, like right now. Stops the death saving throws, if you know the mechanics. It buys time, crucial seconds. But it doesn't restore hit points.
Okay, so it stops the dying, then what?
Then Urihorn follows up. He uses a charge from a wand, cast Cure Wounds, trying to actually bring Radley back, mend the damage.
And does it work?
It seems to. Radley's stabilized, maybe starting to cough, sputter back towards consciousness. They must have felt this huge wave of relief, just for a second.
A very short second. Because Argynvostholt isn't done with Radley yet, is it?
Not even close.
Yeah.
Just as they think they've saved him, one of those giant spiders, maybe the one that webbed him, it's not giving up. It pushes through the doorway into the hall.
And goes straight for Radley again.
Straight for Radley, bites him again, just as he's coming around. Can you imagine? Near death, saved,
Right.
and then bam, the same threat attacks again instantly. It shows how focused these things were on him.
That's brutal. Do they kill the spider?
Oh yeah, Urihorn and Daermon take it down fast. But the damage is done. Radley's taken another massive dose of poison. Traxidor rushes over, casts Cure Wounds again. And the log notes, he's genuinely scared it's too late this time. Radley seems to have stopped breathing entirely.
But the spell works.
It does. A final miracle. Radley sputters, gasps, comes back to life again. The relief must have been immense, but also terrifying. How many times can they pull him back from the brink?
So the immediate threat is gone. The spider's dead. The others seem to have backed off. What now?
Now regrouping. Real regrouping. Once they're sure the coast is clear, Traxidor does something important. He uses a much slower, more powerful healing spell. Prayer of Healing.
Why that one now? Why not more cure wounds?
Because Prayer of Healing isn't about patching one critical wound. It takes 10 minutes to cast. It's a ritual. And it heals multiple people significantly. It's about collective recovery.
So it's not just about Radley's hit points anymore.
Exactly. The whole party is shaken. Physically hurt? Yeah, but also psychologically battered. That friendly fire, Radley collapsing twice. Prayer of Healing is deliberate pause. It says, okay, the immediate crisis is over. Let's reset, mentally and physically. It's restoring morale as much as health.
Makes sense. So they're healed up somewhat, but clearly traumatized. What's the next move? Because the first floor seems like a death trap.
Urihorn makes the call, the ranger. He basically says, look, the north side of this floor, where we just came from, is Suicide Alley. Let's try upstairs.
Avoid the spiders, avoid maybe whatever else is lurking down there. Smart.
And he adds another layer of smart. He remembers the other major threat from their first visit, the one that drove them out last time.
The revenants. Those relentless undead patrols.
Precisely.
Yeah.
They know those things wander the manor, probably including this main hall they're resting in. So Urihorn doesn't wait to bump into them. He acts preemptively. He casts Pass without a trace. It's a fantastic group stealth spell. Makes everyone incredibly hard to detect. It's not just reacting to danger anymore. It's anticipating the known threat and actively mitigating it. They're choosing calculated stealth over just hoping the revenants don't show up. A much better plan than just standing still.
Okay, so with Pass without a trace active, they head for the grand staircase. The ascent goes smoothly then. No revenant patrols.
Seems like it. The spell works. They make it to the second floor and start exploring the north wing, which looks more intact, more like, actual living quarters once upon a time.
First stop, bedroom 1. What's it like?
It feels like a noble's room, definitely, but creepy, obviously. Everything draped in cobwebs, curtain-covered windows. There's a big black marble fireplace, and the log mentions a great view looking out over the valley and this ruined dragon statue outside. Lots of environmental detail.
And the portrait. That sounds important.
Yeah, above the fireplace. A framed portrait. Handsome guy, looks wealthy, dressed well. But the key thing the log notes is his expression, a wry smile. And he's got this thick mane of thistledown hair.
A wry smile? That tells you something about his personality, doesn't it? Confident, maybe arrogant.
Exactly. In a place like this, dripping with history and tragedy, who is this guy? Is he the former lord of the manor? Is he connected to the revenants? That portrait isn't just decoration. It's a clue. It adds a layer of personality to the place. They're not just fighting random monsters. They're in a place with a specific, maybe unhappy history.
They also note some other details. Dragon carvings on the bedposts.
Yeah, it ties into the dragon statue outside, maybe the name Argynvostholt itself.
Here.
Rotting mattress, obviously. And this large wardrobe that's just empty inside, like someone cleared out in a hurry, or maybe something valuable used to be hidden there.
And a single chair facing the fireplace, like someone used to sit there and think or brood.
Right. These little domestic touches, they make the danger feel more jarring when it comes. And speaking of jarring, just as they're taking all this in, they hear something weird.
What's that?
The sound of a wagon outside, arriving at the manor.
A wagon. Now, that's odd. Do they investigate?
Nope. It's a distraction, but they make a conscious choice. Ignore it. Focus on the mission inside, which honestly is probably another smart tactical move. Don't get sidetracked by unknowns when you have a clear objective inside a dangerous place.
Okay, so they stick to the plan, move on to bedroom 2 across the hall. What's this one like?
It's less grand. 2 canopy beds, but the fabric is tattered. Faded rug. Another fireplace. This one really sooty. But it's not the look of the room that stopped them. It's the sound.
What do they hear?
A soft hissing. Like a snake coming from the fireplace.
Uh-oh. After the giant spiders, a hissing sound is probably not welcome.
Not at all. And this is where you see the direct impact of that first floor trauma. The log is super clear about this. Because of Radley's near-death experience with the spiders, they are just terrified of another ambush, another potentially debilitating encounter.
So they don't even peek, don't throw something in?
Nothing. They just back away immediately. No investigation. It's pure risk assessment driven by fear and resource management. Meaning, they know Traxidor has already burned through major healing spells saving Radley. They can't afford another fight that takes someone out, forces them to use up their last reserves. It's not about being scared of a little snake. It's about being scared of being unprepared for what might follow. The fear of losing control overrides any curiosity. They decide this encounter isn't necessary, so they avoid it.
Okay. Sensible, if cautious. Where next?
They keep moving down the hallway. It leads to an east-west corridor. windows facing north, and at the ends, 2 doors, presumably leading into the manor's turrets. Urihorn tries the western door first. It's stuck, doesn't budge. And as he's fiddling with it, that's when the trap springs.
What kind of trap?
The hallway they came in seals up. A solid wall of stone just materializes, blocks the corridor exit completely. They're trapped, boxed in.
Whoa. Not a pressure plate, just magic.
Pure magic. And the moment the wall slams shut, the manor's second-floor defense kicks in. Encounter 2 begins.
What is it this time? More spiders?
Nope. Ghosts. Spectral soldiers. They just materialize right through the walls, described as malevolent, and glide forward to attack.
Okay, so first floor, physical threat, poison, webs. Second floor, magical trap, ethereal attackers. Big difference.
Huge difference. And they know immediately this isn't a simple locked room puzzle. Daermon, the rogue, tries the practical escape first. He looks at the windows in the corridor.
Can they break out?
Not easily. They're those slotted kinds, and the panes are reinforced with metal. Even if they break the glass, the openings are too narrow to squeeze through quickly, especially in armor. Escape isn't really an option.
Meanwhile, Urihorn is frantically looking for a switch, a lever, anything.
Yeah, he does a quick search. Button, tripwire, pressure plate, nothing. He concludes the wall is 100% magical. There's no physical off switch.
So they're trapped, ghosts are attacking. How does the fight go? What do they learn about these spectral soldiers?
2 things. Very quickly, and both are bad news. First, even though the soldiers are ghosts, they're swords, totally solid when they hit you. Sharp as real steel. They cut through armor, hurt just like a normal weapon.
Okay, so they can hurt the party. Can the party hurt them back?
That's the second lesson, and it's worse.
Yeah.
Physical weapons, swords, arrows, they just pass right through the ghosts. Mostly ineffective. Maybe a tiny bit of damage, but not nearly enough. A fighter relying purely on muscle and steel would be almost useless here.
So conventional tactics are out. What do?
This is where Traxidor, the cleric of light, becomes absolutely essential. He sees physical attacks aren't working, so he pivots. Completely changes the strategy. He uses his connection to his deity.
Oh.
He channels divinity. Specifically, the power to turn undead. Now, this isn't like a fireball spell that just does damage. It's an assertion of divine authority. His god's power flowing through him, directly challenging the unholy nature of the ghosts. It's about forcing them to flee through spiritual power, not hurting them physically.
And does that work?
Oh, it works spectacularly. Instantly, almost all the phantom soldiers recoil. They are compelled to flee by the divine power, all except one.
Wow, so the cleric basically ended the fight with one move.
Pretty much neutralized the main threat.
Yeah.
But even in that moment of victory, you see the stress and maybe the lingering panic from the spider fight.
What happens?
Daermon and Radley, they instinctively start swinging their weapons or maybe shooting arrows at the ghosts that are fleeing.
Oh, is that bad?
It can be. Traxidor actually has to yell at them mid-combat, basically, stop, don't attack them. He explains quickly that attacking undead who have been turned can break the compulsion. It can snap them out of it.
So they almost undid their own victory by acting on instinct?
Exactly. He had to give them a rapid-fire lesson on the rules of engagement for turned undead, right there in the corridor. If they'd broken the turning effect, all those ghosts would have swarmed back, and the party, low on effective attacks, would have been in serious trouble. Shows how crucial understanding your abilities and their limits is.
Okay, so they hold back. The ghosts flee. What about the one that wasn't turned?
That one they can focus on. Since physical weapons aren't great, Radley uses his magic, probably firebolt or something similar that affects ethereal creatures. Traxidor likely uses spells too. They take down the last ghost.
Phew. Fight's over. But they're still trapped, right? The stone wall is still there.
Still there. Solid as ever. The magical trap remains even though the ghostly guardians are gone. So the focus shifts back from magic to the physical world. Specifically, those turret doors.
The ones Urihorn couldn't open earlier.
Right. Daermon pulls out his thieves' tools, gives them a proper check. His conclusion: they're not locked in the traditional sense. No tumblers to pick. They must be stuck shut or maybe barred from the other side. Physically blocked.
So after a fight decided by magic and faith, they need brute force.
Exactly. It's this great contrast. Magic got them into this mess. Magic got them through the fight. But now they need good old-fashioned muscle to get out.
And who's got the muscle?
Radley.
Yeah.
The guy described as having tremendous physical strength. The same guy who was on death's door just, an hour ago? He steps up to one of the turret doors, sets his shoulder against it, and just shoves.
Does it work?
With a loud, splintering crack, yes. He forces the door open. It's this really visceral moment, right? Physical power overcoming the obstacle after all the magic and spirits. Really satisfying.
So they get into the turret rooms, both of them.
Yeah, they force the other one open too. And inside, well, they look like old barracks rooms. Total mess. Tattered curtains, torch sconces ripped from the walls, bunk beds smashed to pieces, empty weapons racks, clearly long abandoned. Probably saw some fighting back in the day.
Just ruins then, no reward for all that trouble.
But there is. Hidden amongst all the debris in the western turret room, Traxidor finds something. A small coffer. Looks like it was just forgotten. Left behind ages ago.
And inside.
Treasure. 4 vials. The log describes them as crizzling vials of potions of invulnerability.
Invulnerability potions. That's huge. That's not just a few gold pieces. That's a game changer for a future fight.
Absolutely massive find. Something that could literally save their lives down the line. But think about what it cost to get them. Radley almost died twice. They were magically trapped, fought ghosts, expended spells, dealt with friendly fire, all for these 4 potions.
A high price. So they grabbed the potions. What about the magic wall trapping them in the corridor?
Funny thing, once they've explored both turret rooms and come back out, the wall is just gone, vanished.
Seriously, just like that.
Yep. It's like the manor's defense system activated. They dealt with the threat, the ghosts. Maybe finding the potions was part of passing the test, and then the trap reset itself. The building has this weird, almost automated logic to it. Very strange.
Okay, so they got through the ghost attack. They found these amazing potions. The magic wall is gone. They must be feeling pretty good. Or just exhausted.
Probably mostly exhausted and wary. That phantom encounter after the spider fiasco, it was intense.
Yeah.
Mentally draining, needing those quick strategy shifts. So the party makes a collective decision. Get out. Get out of the mansion again.
They've got their prize. Time to leave before something else happens.
Exactly. They head back down, probably checking over their shoulders the whole way, and pause outside. Catch their breath. And this is where they start to really process what just happened, especially questioning the intel that got them here.
Yeah. Urihorn brings it up, right? Questioning Van Richten, the guy who supposedly told them this place was safe.
Right. He basically asks, why would Van Richten call this place safe when it's obviously crawling with danger? Which is a very valid question after nearly being eaten by giant spiders and trapped by ghosts.
And this leads to that really interesting discussion they have. The difference between shelter and safety. That's a key takeaway for anyone listening, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. They start to speculate maybe Van Richten didn't promise safety. Maybe he just said it was a place they could find shelter. Protection from the rain, from wolves, from the general misery of the land.
But shelter doesn't mean friendly occupants or no magical death traps.
Precisely. It's a massive strategic lesson. When you get intelligence, especially from allies, you have to parse the exact words. What was actually promised? What was implied? What was not said? Assuming shelter means safe space was a potentially fatal assumption here. A roof over your head doesn't stop horse-sized spiders.
Okay, so they're outside, reflecting on bad intel, feeling maybe a bit foolish but alive, and then things get weirder. Remember that wagon they heard earlier?
Oh, yeah. The wagon they decided to ignore. Well, now they're outside. And the wagon. Gone. The driver.
Gone? Okay. Maybe they just left.
Maybe. But they didn't leave empty-handed. Or rather, they left something behind. Something specific.
What is it?
Right there on the ground, near where the wagon must have been. A coffin.
A coffin. Just sitting there?
Just sitting there. Plain wood, probably. But with one horrifying detail.
What?
Carved into the lid, expertly carved, the log notes, is the name. Radley Fullthorn.
Wait, Radley's full name carved onto a coffin left right outside the place he nearly died in twice.
Exactly. This changes everything. This isn't random manor danger anymore.
Right.
This is targeted, virtual,
Serious.
malicious.
Who would do that? Who even knows his full name? And the expertly carved part, that implies skill, time, planning. This wasn't slapped together.
It's deeply unsettling. It shifts the threat profile completely. They're not just explorers stumbling to hazards. Now, they know, or at least Radley knows, he's being hunted. Someone sophisticated knows who he is, where he is, and is sending him a very, very clear message.
A death threat, basically, delivered via coffin. Do they? Do they open it? I mean, would you?
The log says they hesitate.
Yeah.
Several apprehensive moments, which is completely understandable. But yeah, eventually they do. They open the coffin.
And inside, spiders. A skeleton.
Empty.
Empty.
Completely empty. Which is almost worse, isn't it?
Yeah, an empty coffin with your name on it.
Yeah.
It's not about a past death. It's about a future one. It's not a warning. It's a reservation, a promise.
Right? A psychological masterstroke by whoever left it. Pure terror tactic. It instills this deep paranoia.
Hmm.
Who is watching them? How close are they? Is the danger inside the manor, or is it now waiting for them outside too?
For Radley especially, this must be terrifying. He's physically scarred from the poison, and now he's got this named dread hanging over him. He's marked.
Totally. The fear shifts from the environment, the spiders, the ghosts, to an intelligent, unseen, persistent enemy. Someone is playing a long game, and Radley's the piece they're focused on.
Okay, this is a lot. Spiders, ghosts, near-deaths, potions, and now a personalized coffin threat. What does the party do? It's only just past noon.
They make a decision that speaks volumes about their state. Despite it being broad daylight, they decide they need to stop. Right now. They're going to make camp and rest until next morning.
Camp, right outside Argynvostholt. After all that.
It shows how utterly drained they are. Physically, yes, but mostly mentally and emotionally. The cumulative stress, the chaos, the friendly fire, Radley's collapses, the ghost fight, and now this chilling coffin, it's too much. They cannot face another conflict, inside or out, without a serious break.
So it's not about waiting for darkness or strategy, it's just burnout. They need to shut down and recover.
Exactly. Resource depletion, forcing a compromise. Need to process, regain some composure. The emotional toll has just wiped them out. They can't function effectively like this.
So they set up camp right there. Do they feel safe?
Safe? Probably not. Wary? Definitely. They set up watches, 2 people on duty at all times. They have those 4 amazing potions now, a huge asset. But they've essentially traded the known dangers inside the manor for the unknown, potentially personalized danger outside. It's a calculated risk born of sheer exhaustion.
All right, so they camp through the afternoon, through the night. A tense, probably restless camp. Does the night pass peacefully?
Mostly. But their paranoia, that feeling of being watched, it turns out to be justified. Very early the next morning, day 17, just as dawn is thinking about breaking, trouble arrives.
Oh, he's on watch.
Daermon and Traxidor. And it's Daermon, the rogue with keen eyes, who spots them first. Glowing eyes, approaching from the south through the gloom.
Glowing eyes. Not good. What are they?
Figures emerge, humanoid shape, but moving weirdly, stiffly, mechanically, and the party recognizes them.
Not new monsters, then.
Thankfully, no. Animated scarecrows. They've fought these things before, apparently, on the road coming from Vallaki. Which is interesting. Does it mean these things are just ambient threats around Argynvostholt? Or is it related to the coffin? Is their enemy sending minions now?
Hard to say. How does the attack go? Are scarecrows tough?
They're not pushovers, they move faster than you'd expect. Unexpected speed, the log says. And their main weapon, besides claws, is psychological. They radiate this aura of supernatural dread, fear.
Oh, great. So just as Urihorn and Radley are scrambling out of their sleep, they get hit with magical fear.
Exactly. Imagine waking up to that, especially after the day they just had. They're already emotionally fragile. The scarecrows aren't just attacking their bodies, they're attacking their minds, their resolve. It makes the fight immediately desperate, vicious, and it forces them to use up the few skull slots they probably recovered during the rest.
So it's another costly fight, even if they know the enemy.
Very costly in terms of remaining resources. But there is a moment here for Radley. A bit of tactical clarity, maybe even redemption after his earlier struggles.
What does he do?
He remembers or realizes that his magic, specifically Firebolt, a simple cantrip, but fiery, is super effective against scarecrows. I mean, they're made straw and wood, right?
Makes sense. Burn up.
And he does. He starts setting them ablaze. It's a smart use of his abilities, the perfect counter. Shows that even after everything, the trauma, the poison, the coffin, he can still think tactically and act decisively when it counts.
So the fire helps turn the tide.
Big time. The party manages to shake off the fear effect, rally, and fight back effectively.
Yeah.
They take down the scarecrows. They survive the final hurdle of the immediate Argynvostholt area.
Okay. Scarecrows dealt with. The sun's coming up, maybe.
The first pale light of dawn is showing, yeah. Full daylight isn't quite there yet. They've won the fight. But the log notes, even after that long rest, they feel depleted, utterly spent.
That last fight, even if they won, just drained the last reserves.
Completely. That, plus the rough camping, the constant tension from the coffin, it all just confirms what they probably already knew. They need real shelter, proper sanctuary, not just a campsite outside a haunted house.
If you connect all the dots, their resource pool spells, energy, morale, it's basically empty. They survived Argynvostholt, barely. They survived the scarecrows, but they can't risk another fight like the ballroom or the phantoms. Not now.
Absolutely not. They need a safe place, somewhere to properly rest, maybe figure out what to do about this coffin situation, plan their next move.
So what's the decision? Back into Argynvostholt is clearly not an option.
No way. The decision is strategic retreat. They decide to head east, get back on the main Svalich road, and make for a place they hope will be safer. The Wizards of Wine Vineyard.
Run by the Mordekov family.
That's the one. It's known territory, maybe neutral ground, at least safer than where they are now.
So this isn't running away in defeat. It's a tactical move.
I'd say so. They achieved a major objective. They got those incredibly valuable potions. They gathered intel, maybe, about the manor's history and defenses, but they also recognized they hit their limit. Their operational capacity was maxed out. Pushing further would be suicide.
So they're trading the known danger of Argynvostholt for the hope of safety elsewhere.
Exactly. It's a calculated withdrawal. They break camp quickly, leave the ominous manor behind them, carrying their treasure, their physical and mental scars, and that absolutely terrifying image of Radley's name on an empty coffin. #tag 5 of 6. Conclusion and final thought.
Wow, what a session. When you lay it all out like that, it really is a story about resilience, isn't it? And about adapting under fire. They didn't just stick to one plan. They had to constantly pivot.
Absolutely. They survived not because they were stronger than the threats, necessarily, but because they were adaptable. They went from needing physical defense against spiders, to needing magical stealth against revenants, to needing divine power against ghosts, then back to pure physical strength to break down a door.
Yep.
All while managing dwindling resources and rising panic.
It really was a masterclass in risk management, like you said at the start, and resource management. Every choice had a consequence that affected the next choice.
Precisely. Radley's physical crisis with the spiders. That burned through their critical healing magic almost immediately. That lack of healing then made them more cautious, leading to the stealth approach upstairs.
Which led them right into the magical trap with the phantoms.
Right. And they only survived that because Traxidor recognized physical attacks were useless and instantly switched to channel divinity. Then, when magic failed to open the way out of the trap, they needed Radley's physical strength again. It's all interconnected.
Okay, so let's distill this. What are the big takeaways for you, the listener, from this whole Argynvostholt ordeal, framed as, like, strategic principles you can actually use?
All right, nugget number 1. Beware of assumptions, especially about safety. Never ever confuse the word shelter with the word safe, especially when you're getting intel.
That whole discussion about Van Richten possibly only promising shelter.
Exactly. It's a vital lesson. Always drill down on the specifics. What exactly is being offered or promised? What are the limitations? Assuming a dry roof means no giant spiders or vengeful ghosts. Well, they learned the hard way. That's wrong. Define your safety parameters.
Good one. Okay, nugget 2.
Know your toolkit and adapt instantly. We saw physical weapons fail utterly against the ghosts. The party didn't just keep swinging. They recognized failure and pivoted. Traxidor went to divine power. Radley used magic against the scarecrows. Strength opened the door.
So it's not just having different tools.
It's the speed of recognizing tool A isn't working and switching immediately to tool B or C. That analytical pivot under pressure is crucial. Success depends on that rapid adaptation.
Makes sense. And nugget 3.
Victory has cost beyond gold and glory. They walked out of Argynvostholt with 4 potions of invulnerability. Amazing treasure, right?
Absolutely game-changing.
But look at the price. Radley nearly died twice. Critical healing spells gone. Massive psychological fatigue that forced a retreat even after getting treasure.
Yeah.
So measure your success not just by the loot, but by what you had to spend to get it physically, magically, and mentally.
Yeah.
Sometimes the cost is too high, even if you win.
That brings us back to Radley, doesn't it? He paid the highest personal cost inside and then got that coffin waiting outside.
Right. That recurring motif, his full name, expertly carved. It suggests his story, his personal journey is marked now by fate, maybe? Or by a very specific, intelligent enemy who is stalking him. The manor tested the whole group. The coffin singled him out.
It wasn't a general beware Argynvostholt sign. It was Radley Fullthorn, we're coming for you.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
personalized promise of future doom. Which leads us to the final thought, the thing to really chew on.
Okay.
The session ends with them retreating, fleeing towards perceived safety at the Wizards of Wine Vineyard. A known location, run by potential allies, given the level of threat they just faced. Personalized, intelligent, capable of tracking them and leaving that coffin. Does heading towards a known, populated location actually make them safer? Or does it just make them a more visible, more concentrated target for this enemy who clearly knows Radley's name and is actively preparing his demise?
Ah, so running to Sanctuary might actually be like painting a bigger target on their backs, especially Radley's.
It's a chilling possibility, isn't it?
Mm.
They escaped the haunted house, yes. But they might have just stepped out of the frying pan into a fire being prepared specifically for one of them. Their chosen sanctuary could just be the next
This is the
stop on a
brief
very
on a Dungeons
dangerous
and
road
Dragons
to the
session that nearly took out a whole party at Argynvostholt. So, you've got this group of 4 adventurers, right? Urihorn the Beastmaster, Radley the Warrior Mage type, Traxidor the Cleric, and Daermon the Sneaky Rogue. They decided to check out this, really ruined manor, and it basically turned into a massive fight for survival against spiders, ghosts, the whole deal. First off, they kind of learned that just hitting things hard doesn't always cut it. Down in the ballroom, Radley, he's their main fighter, gets jumped by 9 huge, horse-sized spiders. Seriously. He got tangled up in silk, poisoned, nearly died right there. It took both Traxidor and Urihorn using pretty much all their emergency healing magic just to keep him breathing. Close call. Second, things got even wilder upstairs. A stone wall just pops into existence, trapping them. Then, bam, spectral soldiers attack. And get this, their regular weapons just went right through them, pretty much useless. So they had to switch gears, right? Traxidor used his holy powers to scare most of the undead off, and Radley had to rely on spells like Firebolt to take down the rest. Magic definitely saved the day there. Finally, after finding some really nice loot, 4 potions of invulnerability, they managed to get out of the manor. But, waiting outside, an empty coffin, perfectly carved with Radley's full name on it. Super creepy. After another tough fight with some animated scarecrows that used up their last spells, they decided, okay, this place is way too dangerous. They bailed on Argynvostholt and headed east, hoping the Wizards of Wine Vineyard would be safer. So yeah, this whole bloody mess really hammered home that sometimes you gotta know when to run.
Welcome to
And the
the
trouble
debate.
seems to follow
Our
them
focus
every-
today, well, it's drawn from the pretty harrowing events of Session 22. Specifically, we're detailing a party's renewed, and I have to say, highly dangerous exploration of the ruined manor of Argynvostholt. After being previously repelled, the adventurers plunged back in, only to face this rapid succession of really specialized, life-threatening encounters. I mean, everything from 9 enormous spiders to spectral soldiers, ultimately culminating in what looks like a strategically forced retreat.
And the central tension we see here, I think, it's pretty foundational, isn't it? It's about successful resource management and survival in environments like this manor, environments built on complex, diversified threats.
Exactly. So the core question becomes, should the party have prioritized direct physical confrontation, relying on raw strength and martial skill as their main tool for resolving things? Or were non-physical methods, healing magic, spiritual power, maybe even specialized avoidance tactics, were those the true necessary mechanisms for their survival, for just staying alive?
Right. I'll be arguing that direct physical engagement and really the application of raw strength that followed, these were the absolutely critical turning points. They resolved the immediate conflicts and ultimately enabled the party's eventual extraction.
See, I think that approach only tells half the story. Because those physical actions, while maybe they initiated conflicts, they simultaneously led directly to immediate life-threatening injury and, frankly, catastrophic resource depletion. So I maintain that the non-physical methods, very specific healing protocols, spiritual power designed specifically to circumvent those ethereal defenses, and strategic avoidance maneuvers, those were solely responsible for the party even continuing to exist and for their ultimate, necessary, and I'd say rather humbling, retreat from the manor.
Well, I still maintain that the analysis has to begin with those moments of decisive action. The most crucial turning points in this session, they involved aggressive physical commitment, often enabled by martial force or just sheer strength. Think about the initial survival against those, 9 enormous spiders converging on Radley, the Eldritch Knight? His continued existence right then and there, it hinged on an immediate, explosive, and fundamentally physically derived action. casting Thunderwave. Now, this wasn't merely a spell in the abstract. It was a calculated physical blast. It achieved immediate area denial, physically throwing back several spiders, even causing stones to tumble from the crumbling walls. This set up a critical tactical doctrine, really. Controlled disengagement through area denial. It was a necessary, proactive, physical commitment to offset what looked like inevitable entrapment. He basically created an opportunity where none existed, purely through applying force. Think about the initial survival against those, 9 enormous spiders converging on Radley, the Eldritch Knight. His continued existence right then and there, it hinged on an immediate, explosive, and fundamentally physically derived action. And this theme, it resurfaces later, doesn't it? When the party gets trapped by that magically appearing wall in the east-west corridor. Investigation, led by Daermon, it failed. He concluded the doors to the turrets were just stuck or barred. So intellectual or magical inquiry alone, it couldn't solve the block. But then it was Radley, who's explicitly described as a man of tremendous physical strength, who just put his shoulder to the door and forced his way through with that loud, splintering crack. This forceful action was the only immediate path to freedom, and it allowed them to find those crucial potions of invulnerability before that magical wall vanished. The episode seems to demonstrate that physical capacity can serve as a kind of universal key, sometimes circumventing challenges that subtlety just couldn't touch in the moment.
Okay, but that analysis, I feel, it minimizes the cost of that commitment and misunderstands what actually secured Radley's life in that first instance. The spider encounter itself is, for me, the perfect illustration of the systemic failure you risk when you rely purely on physical proximity and aggression. Radley was nearly killed by his approach, let's be clear. He was bitten several times, then caught in the silk, collapsed, overcome by the spider's poison, and actually stopped breathing after the second bite. His physical action led directly to immediate collapse. Survival was entirely contingent on powerful, rapid, non-physical intervention. Yes, okay, Daermon physically dragged him, fine, but the core life-saving sequence, that was purely restorative magic deployed by Traxidor the cleric. First spare the dying, then cure wounds, and then a second cure wounds specifically needed to restore him from stopped breathing. This sequence moved him from literally dying to stabilized. And even then, the subsequent prayer of healing was needed just to bolster the party enough to compel them to flee. So physical engagement created the crisis. Non-physical, specialized restorative magic ensured they lived to find the next room. If we define success as, continuing to exist, then the magic, not the initial blast, was a successful factor here.
But that perspective kind of assumes stasis, doesn't it? If Radley hadn't used the Thunderwave to create that space, that initial breathing room, would there have even been time for Traxidor to intervene with Spare the Dying? I suspect he would have been instantly mobbed and killed before the cleric could even react. That initial physical blast was the necessary precursor, the tactical pivot that transitioned the group from what looked like instantaneous annihilation to, okay, yes, a manageable resource crisis. Furthermore, the fight itself demanded engagement, didn't it? Urihorn the Ranger and Daermon the Eldritch Knight, they both engaged using arrows. Traxidor used Sacred Flame in his spiritual weapon. This sustained, direct, offensive force, whether physical arrows or magically manifested weapons, it was necessary to cull those 9 attackers and make sure the downed Radley wasn't just, finished off by the remaining spiders. The crisis was resolved by the application of direct force, period.
I'm still not convinced by that line of reasoning, because you seem to be focusing on the initiation rather than the stabilization. Isn't the core issue here one of risk assessment? Radley's immediate physical action arguably needlessly created a near-fatal resource crisis, a crisis that required 3 specialized magical interventions just to stabilize him. His approach immediately drained the cleric of critical spell slots that, well, they might have been absolutely necessary later to face some truly insurmountable threat, right? And what did the party choose to do immediately after this near-death experience? Once they realized the spider chase was abandoned, did they press their advantage physically? No! Urihorn the Ranger immediately cast Pass Without a Trace, this non-physical stealth tactic. Well, it strongly suggests the party, having been brought right to the brink, internally recognized that their future survival depended heavily on avoidance and subtlety. Precisely because direct physical confrontation in those confined spaces had been so devastatingly costly.
I acknowledge that Pass Without a Trace was employed, yes. It reflects a temporary tactical shift, I'll grant that. But one must remember that stealth only grants avoidance. It doesn't resolve existing threats, and it certainly doesn't secure necessary resources. They still needed physical resolution to secure their objectives, which, conveniently, brings us directly to the Spectral Soldier's confrontation and that magical wall.
Ah, yes, the Spectral Soldiers. Which, for me, provided the clearest evidence that physical reliance is, fundamentally, a strategic dead end in this specific manner. The party immediately confirmed that their martial efforts failed. Their weapons were just passing through the enemies without effect. The physical approach wasn't just ineffective, it was useless. Survival here was secured only when Traxidor used Channel Divinity, a purely spiritual, non-physical effect, causing all but one phantom to flee. And then, when Daermon and Radley reflexively tried swinging weapons again at the fleeing undead, what happened? Traxidor had to explicitly reproach them, warn them that attacking the rebuked undead could actually break the spiritual compulsion, potentially bringing all 7 phantoms right back into the fight. This confirms, doesn't it, that physical aggression against these specialized ethereal threats was not just ineffective, but actively counterproductive and potentially disastrous. The right solution was spiritual, not martial.
That's a compelling argument regarding the spiritual nature of those specific threats. And I absolutely grant that Channel Divinity was the optimal means of, well, removing the majority of the combatants. However, that line of reasoning ignores the crucial next step in their exploration, doesn't it? While the initial physical attacks failed against those ethereal targets, the party still needed physical methods to secure their ultimate escape from that corridor. They were trapped by a magical wall described as solid and unyielding as the rest of the corridor. As we already established, it required Radley's physical strength, that immense, forceful shove, to break open the door to the turret chambers. The party found themselves facing a kind of binary choice: wait around and risk the wall disappearing, maybe with the phantoms potentially returning, or rely on sheer muscle right then and there. While the initial physical attacks failed against those ethereal targets, the party still needed physical methods to secure their ultimate escape from that corridor. They were trapped by a magical wall described as solid and unyielding as the rest of the corridor. As we already established, it required Radley's physical strength, that immense, forceful shove, to break open the door to the turret chambers. The party found themselves facing a kind of binary choice. Physical strength provided the means to circumvent the barrier, and that led directly to the discovery of the 4 potions of invulnerability. That resource acquisition was a tangible, physical reward for physically forcing open the exit. Physicality, in this specific instance, proved to be the master key against an otherwise impenetrable magical obstruction.
Okay, but you're celebrating the discovery of the potions without really addressing why they were so desperately needed at that point. They needed those potions precisely because they were physically and magically depleted, largely due to the earlier reliance on brute force against the spiders. The Spectral Soldier encounter merely emphasized that they were, in many ways, operating with the wrong tools for this particular environment. And let's look at the immediate aftermath of dealing with those Spectral Soldiers. Even though one phantom remained, how was it dispatched? By the cleric and the Eldritch Knight using spells, direct, targeted magic, not physical slashes. This further reinforces the idea that force had to be channeled non-martially to be effective against the manor's primary defense mechanisms. It feels like the party learned the lesson repeatedly. Physical engagement often equals injury and depletion.
But that depletion, I'd argue, was managed and overcome through decisive action. The party's decision to leave Argynvostholt and head towards the Wizards of Wine, I see that as a pragmatic choice following successive accomplishments: spiders defeated, phantoms banished, and, importantly, the finding of substantial new resources in those potions. This wasn't just a panicked flight. It reads more like a strategic withdrawal with the clear goal of resting and integrating their newly acquired resources. Their subsequent survival out in the harsh environment outside Argynvostholt on day 17 seems to confirm that direct force remained a foundational asset. Their successful defense against the animated scarecrows relied on combining martial strength with targeted offensive spells. The text specifically notes that Radley's firebolt was particularly effective, setting several attackers ablaze and ensuring a swift, decisive victory. Disciplined, physically grounded watches.
demonstrating a kind of mastery over their immediate surroundings, which was necessary for recovery. The ability to defend themselves directly enabled their safe rest and recovery.
I have to disagree entirely with that characterization of mastery. The narrative context, to me, suggests a forced retreat under extreme anxiety. The party explicitly stated they were still depleted, even despite having achieved a long rest. They only left the mansion after recognizing it clearly lurks with danger, a statement pretty clearly fueled by the preceding trauma. And you have the encounter with the spectral soldiers, plus that bizarre discovery of the empty coffin carved with Radley Fullthorn's name, suggesting future peril directly related to him. That's certainly heightened their wariness. They ultimately fled eastward toward the Wizards of Wine, actively seeking refuge and shelter to reorganize, not because they felt they had conquered the area. And while yes, the Scarecrow fight was a success, it came at a high cost, didn't it? It served mainly to confirm their depleted state. The text notes that the engagement expended the party's few remaining spells, meaning the direct approach again pushed them towards a resource crisis. This mandated the need for refuge rather than enabling some kind of renewed offensive. Their continued existence seems to rely heavily on judicious use of spells and the subsequent avoidance of further conflict with the main threats back at the manor.
The evidence, however, I think consistently points toward the necessity of proactive commitment, of doing something, in every moment of really existential peril, whether it's escaping immediate death with that physical blast from Thunderwave, physically breaking open locked chambers to gain critical resources, or decisively fighting off the final scarecrows. Direct, decisive, and often physical action was the mechanism. It's how the party created space, eliminated immediate threats, or secured their objectives. Physical strength and direct offensive force provided necessary resolution to these existential threats, especially when non-committal subtlety or, intellectual analysis failed to provide a timely exit. The lesson seems to be that sometimes you simply must be the irresistible force.
I frame it differently. I think the core narrative of Session 22 is really one of necessary humility regarding physical capacity. The party was repeatedly battered, nearly destroyed by physical means. Their survival depended fundamentally on retreat, on precise non-physical healing magic, those restorative interventions that literally stabilized a dying man, and crucial non-physical abilities like channel divinity and pass without a trace. The manor's specialized, complex defenses demanded finesse and careful resource management, not brute force, to prevent utter collapse. The group survived, I think, by recognizing when to stop being the irresistible force and instead adopt, maybe, the path of water, finding the way around.
And I think both perspectives, really, they reveal profound lessons about confronting unknown dangers within these ruins. The material demonstrates pretty clearly that a successful outcome for this specific group often relies on a very delicate balance, recognizing precisely when to commit to strength to force an opening, and then when to rely on subtlety and restorative magic to manage the inevitable fallout.
Indeed. This material offers some fascinating insight into how different, highly specialized threats require entirely different tool sets, doesn't it? And how easily that strategic balance can shift between needing immediate aggressive action and needing immediate avoidance. The true genius of this session might actually lie in their ability to adapt and change their doctrine midstream.
A session report about exploring the very dangerous Argynvostholt manor, which led to some close calls and a decision to pull back.
Yeah, diving straight in, this document really throws you into the action. High stakes from the get-go.
Absolutely. It sets up this deadly environment, and the party is constantly, pushed to their limits.
It really is. But to make that tension hit even harder, we need to think about where the reader gets a moment to breathe, and where maybe things move a bit too fast past some really key character moments.
Exactly. The fights are immediate, they're visceral, really well done.
Spot on. But let's start with that ending bit, outside the manor. Super chilling.
Right. The party gets out of Argynvostholt, and there's this wagon driver who's left, well, a message. An empty coffin with Radley Fullthorn's name carved on it.
Oh, yeah. It's a huge hook. Really shocking personal threat.
And that brings us straight to our first point. The profound, dramatic reveal of the empty coffin named for Radley Fullthorn warrants greater narrative space and lingering emotional reflection.
Yeah. The weakness here is, really about the pacing and the focus right at that moment. The narrative almost treats this incredibly personal kind of existential threat like finding, I don't know, some healing potions?
Right, it moves so quickly from finding his name on a coffin to the practical stuff, okay, let's camp, set watches.
It just sort of minimizes the immediate emotional weight, doesn't it?
It really does. And think about Radley's perspective here. He just survived nearly dying twice inside.
Yeah, webbed up, collapsed, needed stabilizing, gets bitten again the second he wakes up.
And then he steps outside and sees that. His own name expertly carved. That psychological gut punch gets kind of brushed aside by the quick move to just setting up camp.
The reader needs to feel that shock, that shift. The danger just went from being inside the ruins, very immediate, to something cold, calculated, and following them.
So the suggestion is pretty straightforward. Slow down the pacing right around discovering and opening that coffin.
Exactly. Really maximize the horror, the uncertainty. Make the reader sit with that dread for a moment.
And we need some concrete ways to really ground that feeling. You mentioned the expertly done carving earlier.
Yes, lean into that. Describe the coffin itself. Is it new, old, covered in fresh grave dirt? That detail, expert carving, hints at someone intelligent, watching them, planning this. It makes the threat feel less random, more focused on Radley.
Okay, so emphasize the physical details. What else?
Then maybe include a moment of just intense focus purely on Radley's reaction, right when he sees his name.
Like contrasting his physical power. He just smashed open those turret doors, right? With this sudden, psychological vulnerability.
Precisely. Him facing the silent, tailor-made threat.
Makes sense. And a decision to camp?
Detail the conversation. Make it crystal clear that finding the coffin is the trigger for hunkering down immediately. Not just general, oh, it's dangerous here.
Right. It's not just wariness. It's this specific thing forces their hand into a defensive posture right then and there, because this threat is now mobile and it's pointed at one of them.
Yeah. That contrast you mentioned, strength versus vulnerability, that's potent stuff.
So if the coffin is this personalized external threat, the report also shows the party wrestling with internal pressures too. I mean, all those tactical withdrawals.
Fleeing the revenants, backing out after hearing that hissing sound.
Yeah, the account tells us what they did. They left repeatedly. But we're kind of missing the why sometimes. The internal debate that led to hitting the eject button.
And that's exactly our second critique, clarifying the party's motivations and internal debate during moments of tactical withdrawal, which strengthen the overall narrative logic and character agency.
The weakness is that these key decisions, like leaving the bedroom with the soft serpentine hissing, or switching focus from the north side to the upper floors because Urihorn suggested it, they feel a bit like plot points handed down.
Yeah, like fait accompli. We know they're scared, generally, but not always why they chose that specific moment to stop pushing forward.
It feels like we might be losing a chance for character insight if we only focus on the action of running away.
Totally agree. So the suggestion here is to weave in just brief, sharp bits of dialogue or maybe stated reasons, just enough to anchor why they shifted tactics, especially when things felt ambiguous or scary.
Like hearing their thought process, or maybe a quick hushed argument?
Exactly. For instance, remember after they fought those spectral soldiers, they started questioning Van Richten's whole Argynvostholt is safe claim.
Oh, yeah, that's a perfect spot.
Right? So detail that reevaluation. Was the idea that he maybe just meant shelter and didn't promise safety something they all agreed on? Or was someone, maybe Traxidor, pushing back?
Showing that debate would frame why they're so cautious later, making the next retreat feel more earned.
Precisely. And what about those more ambiguous threats, like the hissing? That's pure uncertainty making them bolt.
Yeah, how do you show the why there?
Well, for that bedroom withdrawal, maybe specify why the hissing suddenly made them fearful of any further encounters. Was it just the sound itself? Or did someone maybe whisper, sounds like those spiders, or I can't face another phantom fight right now?
So connecting the current fear directly back to a very recent trauma.
Exactly. It makes the jumpiness feel specific, not just general anxiety. It mirrors the previous trauma, like you said.
Makes sense. And Urihorn's suggestion to check the upper floors instead of the north side? That felt a bit abrupt, since the others were apparently ambivalent.
Yeah, that's another spot. We need to know what makes the north side suddenly unappealing right then. Urihorn needs to voice a clear reason to sway the others.
Okay, so maybe he points out, that's where we saw the revenants, or that ballroom looked ready to collapse, let's try upstairs first.
Something like that. Give Urihorn a solid tactical reason that cuts through the group's uncertainty, gives them agency.
Okay, moving on. I have to say, the combat descriptions themselves are fantastic. That ballroom scene with Radley getting webbed, collapsing like a puppet.
Oh yeah, totally cinematic. Really sells the danger.
But, and this is the thing, the recovery afterwards feels a bit quick, almost summarized, compared to the intense detail of the fight itself. The ruin doesn't quite match the recovery.
That's a perfect lead-in to our final critique. While the combat details are excellently executed, maximizing the impact requires equally vivid description of the immediate physical and emotional toll on the party following high-stakes engagements.
The weakness, then, is that the narrative jumps almost straight to the next action, casting prayer of healing, deciding where to go next.
Right. Without giving us, the readers, a moment to just absorb the exhaustion, the mess, the state of the room after everything went down.
And that contrast, between the super detailed violence and the kind of quick summary of getting patched up, it lessens the long-term feeling of trauma.
We need to anchor that trauma better. So the suggestion is simple. Just spend a little bit more narrative space describing the immediate aftermath of those big fights.
How so?
Link the physical state of the characters and even their surroundings to that overall feeling of being depleted. The report says they feel depleted the next morning, but we need to show why even a long rest didn't fully cut it.
Okay, can you give some specific examples? How do we bring the environment and that physical toll into the recovery beat?
Sure, like right after Traxidor casts Prayer of Healing in the main hall after the spider fight. Don't just say the spell was cast, maybe describe the lingering tension.
Like what?
Like the sticky feeling of webs still clinging to their gear, maybe the horrific sight of the dead giant spider still slumped in the doorway, or just the visible trembling fatigue on Radley and the others who had to charge in and cut him loose.
Okay, yeah. Let the actual mess and chaos of the fight linger into that quiet moment.
Exactly. That residue of combat, as you put it, it makes it feel less like a clean skirmish and more like a genuinely traumatic event.
Right. It raises the stakes retroactively almost.
And another example, after the Scarecrow fight the next morning, you mentioned they felt depleted despite the rest. Link that feeling to something concrete. Maybe mention lingering aches from specific hits the day before, or highlight the scarcity of remaining spell slots. You mentioned Urihorn and Radley had to scramble for their gear. Describe that sudden, clumsy panic. It shows they're still running on empty, even after sleeping.
Okay, connect the feeling to tangible evidence. And there was that great detail during the fight, the friendly fire moment. Urihorn's hail of thorns hitting Radley.
Yes, that's perfect. Leverage that. That specific tactical mistake, that moment of friendly fire, it should echo, even briefly.
How?
Maybe just a momentary description of the tension between them right after the fight ends, before they move on. A quick, sharp glance exchanged, or maybe Urihorn offers a gruff, hasty apology before they pack up.
Ah, so showing that this stress isn't just from the monsters. It's potentially fraying their own interactions too.
Exactly. It reinforces that the trauma has internal consequences for the group, not just external wounds.
Okay. This has been really useful. So 3 clear areas to focus on to really elevate this narrative.
Yeah, just to recap quickly. First, really amplify the emotional impact of those personalized threats, especially that empty coffin. Slow the pace right down at the discovery. Let the horror land.
Second, make sure to show the internal logic behind the party's retreats. Give us the why, the deliberation, the specific fear driving their choices, maybe through quick dialogue snippets.
And finally, make the aftermath of the fights as vivid as the fights themselves. Anchor the recovery moments in the physical toll and the messy environment to really underscore the lasting impact of these encounters.
Excellent points. These suggestions offer great ways to take what's already a really strong, tense report and make it even more immersive and psychologically resonant.
Absolutely. We genuinely love to see how these adjustments play out.
Yeah, feel free to work these ideas in and send the revised version back our way for another look.